Have you ever wondered what games you should keep or you should lose? Find out here at Purge Reviews.
That's Pretty Clever for Kids is a children's version of a base game, which I have not played. So let me start there. But as a children's game, I think they did a pretty good job of making like the candy and the presents like you're going to a birthday party, there's balloons up, and it's a roll and write. Now, most kids probably don't clamor to roll and writes, although they can be a quick little puzzle. I got some little guys who like to play Sudoku and some of these apps that kind of more app-driven games that have these puzzles in it, and this is a board game version of that. So it does have some real good pros to it, and the fact that there's no downtime. So what's going to happen is the player's going to roll the dice, utilize whatever dice they want, but it has to be of the same color. So they'll take those dice and use those. Every other player can use any combination of the rest of the dice as long as it's a single color. And that gives you some options to do. You'd be like, oh, I doesn't take that, but he did. Okay, so now my second thing would be to do this. And you'd be kind of thinking that through. So you're actively involved on every player's turn. There's not really any downtime in this game, which is fantastic when you're playing with kids or with families. The game is cute. I think they try hard to make this more than just numbers or gadgets that you're doing. There's actually like a birthday party, and you're trying to decorate for it, and you're trying to get these stars. And at the end of the game, whoever's most stars is going to be the winner. And in some places that are harder to get will give you more stars, and easier places will give you more items or benefits and some stars. And you got kind of that push and pull. Do I want to try to end the game earlier? Do I want to try to get late and try to get the most points? And what period of time is going to be. So you feel like the game's going longer. Maybe you want to need to go over these harder points that will score you more often and more points. And that's just kind of rub in the game. Overall, it's very easy to teach, very easy to play. My kids really like this one. And we played a couple games, kids' games in one night, and this was the shining one. This is the one everybody was like, this looks very good when we first started it, but after a play of it, they were like, can we play again? And that's a sign of a good game. There are decisions to be made in this game. You're actively participating in every turn, which is great. The game doesn't overstay its welcome, and it's cute. That's a win-win for a children's game. So check this one out. It's going to be a keeper for us. Here is That's Pretty Clever Kids. This is a kid's version. It's a roll and write for children. You can see they put cats and dogs on the front and a little bit of theme, which is more than the base game got. You're going to get a rule book, which we'll take a look at in a few minutes, and you're going to get these sheets that will be used for scoring purposes. And you do get quite a bit in here. You can always laminate them. They are double-sided, etc., but there are plenty here. And then not a whole lot else. You're going to get some of these little pencils that you'll get. You get these little dice. They're very small, but nice for kids, and etc. They kind of feel like Hobby dice, but a lot smaller. So that's the components. They're fine for a roll and write, and I think this is colorful enough with the characters to keep children's interest. I think they did a good job with this. So here's the rule book. You're going to show before playing and the dice sheets. It'll kind of get you started there. And then how do you actually play the game, rules for crossing off, etc. These are the 4 things over here that you really got to know before you play. And there's a wild side to the dice, and then the bonus circles, how that works. And the game ends and who wins. The game is very simple. It takes you probably about 10, 12, 13 minutes to get through this. You should be up and running. I didn't have any problems when playing. The game is very simple. There's really only 4 tracks. 1, 2, 3, and 4, and you should be up and going. So no problem with this rule book whatsoever. To play the game, everybody's going to take a sheet. You get a pencil, a writing utensil, and the first player will take the dice. What they're going to do is then roll the dice, and they can take any combination. So these are wilds that you're going to have. You're going to have the candles, the presents, the food, and the different areas here on the board. So let's say it was something like this. I had the balloons. I could take the balloons, these 4 right here, I'll set them aside, and everybody else would have this to work on. So that's how it's going to work. So let me show you another rule, because this is really how the game works. And so I can choose whatever I want to use. Let's say I want to use the balloon, then everybody else can work off what's left. If I roll the dice, let me do one more example here. And I say, you know what, you're probably always going to take the wild because it gives you other options. I want the candles, and they can choose green, yellow, or blue based on how those sheets are working. So whatever the first player takes, or that player's, then everybody else can play off whatever they want. So if Herman wants to take that, Sarah could take that too, or Sarah could take maybe something like this instead. Or if 2 of the dice matched up, she could take 2 of the dice. They're communal, so nobody's taking the dice. Only the first person is taking the dice, and these would be off limits to the rest of the players. So what are you doing here to score points? So the balloons you have to get in order. So in order for me to score this, if I had this, say, on a turn, I could score the red because I have a red, but because I don't have a purple, this die would be useless. If I had a wild card here, I could use the wild to beat any of these, and they go in order. And what you're trying to do is get off on these circles, or these rainbow stars. And you're only going to score at the end of the game whatever rainbow stars you get in every area. That's going to be your final score. So if I got the first 3, I've in effect scored no points. If I were to get the 4th one, I would score a point. The ones with the candles are going to work the same way. So if I had candles, I could utilize that and cross off these candles. But some of the spots are going to require 2 candles in order to move. And then there are some that has 3 here at the end. Once again, you have to go in order, and you're only going to get points if you're able to get to the stars. The presents and the candy down here work a little bit differently. There is no order. I can just scratch off whatever I want at any time, including the wilds, can be anything. If you finish a column, you're going to get the little bonus here. I'll go over this in a second. If you're able to get the rows off, you're going to get stars. But you can choose where this and this must go in order. This, you can cross off anything that you want. A little bit more flexible that you're going to have there. Now, for the donuts, the cake, and the cupcakes, if you have those, you're going to be able to cross these off, but one will do nothing for you. You can see each of these has 2. So a little bit trickier that I'm going to need at least 2 in order to cross one of these off, and you always have to go in order. But there are more stars in this area, I think, than the other areas, but they are harder because you need 2 at a time. A wild can always replace 1 if need be. So if you ended up with something like this, with 3, it's really not going to do you any good. The 2 cupcakes will go here, and none of these will cost 1. Once again, whoever has the most stars will win the game. When somebody fills up an entire area, like the green, or the blue, or the red, or the yellow, the game will end, and you'll score up and see who has the most points. The only other caveat is these circles that you have here. So if you were able to come up here, and you were able to get, let's say you had 2 wilds, just keep it easy, cross off the red, you cross off the purple has a green circle, which means then you can come down here, and you can cross off any green. You look through the candles, it has a blue circle. So if I get up to that point, the bonus I'm going to get is I can cross off one of the blues. And you can see the blues has a red, which will let me cross off one of the reds. So there'll be those kind of bonuses you'll be looking through the game. And that's how you play That's So Pretty Clever, kids. Who should buy this game? I think this is a pretty good family game. I haven't seen a lot of family weight roll and rides per se that are uniquely targeted at children. This is probably the only one that I actually know about and one that I'd recommend to you. I would say this is a fairly good children's game. Adults can play this one too. There's enough strategy here for them, although they'll probably gravitate towards other rules and rides. There's so many on the market right now. But this is a good one to kind of dive in, teach your kids the concepts of what you're doing here. Then you can branch out if they want something a little bit more. This one has a unique scoring in it. It has the cute animal characters. And I think this one worked pretty good. Check this one out. It's a keeper for us.